Now this is my latest project, a 3-drawer dresser for the main bedroom, and in this section I'm going to show you how to do the top. Now I've introduced a fairly complicated trim here, a mitered little trim to make the top more interesting, but that can be ignored for the purposes of this video. In the first video I'm going to show you the joint. These are 3 strakes or planks or boards or whatever here, and they're joined using Dowelmax in its entirety. And the second part is going to involve this mitered edging here, which I think, if I remember right, is 4 inches. And it's now the interesting part about that is that, again, I think it can only be done by Dowelmax. If you think about it, normally when you do a miter, the dowels are perpendicular to the miter face, and that's where we normally go. However, in this particular setup, you can't do that because it won't go together. With the final assembly, it won't go together. So what we have to do there is we have to do them all actually in the same direction. This dowel here has to go in that direction, and I'm going to show you how to do that. It's quite interesting. So let's get started. So this is the bedroom dresser tabletop, and it comprises 3 components, 3 planks, and it not shown here, it has 3 mitered edges, perimeter edges. And I'm going to show you the method for joining this with Dowelmax using the extended distance gauge. Now I've prepped all these edges on the table saw. I prefer the table saw to the jointer. But to do it that way, you have to do all 6 edges and keep rotating them. Don't turn them over, just rotate, and do take a 64th or a 32nd off, no more. Just keep rotating and doing it. And if you get a good fence, you'll finish up with some really good joints and no spacing. Now, to start, this is one of the cases where we come right from the top right down to the bottom, and we mark our work pieces, the 1 and 1, 1 and 1, and X's on the surfaces to be drilled. Same here, 2, 2, 2, 2, and X on the surface to be drilled. And these are just over 3/4 thick, so we don't need to add a spacer to the Dowelmax. In fact, to be quite honest, you don't really need to center with these joints. They're so strong, you don't need to center. You can be slightly off, it doesn't matter. As long as they're all the same, it doesn't matter. And as I say, we'll be using this distance gauge. It's set at 14¼ inches. So let's get started. Now I should say at the outset, I've seen really good woodworkers doing joints like this, and just applying the glue to the edges and joining it, clamping it. I'm afraid that's not, in my opinion, a good idea. That's my own opinion. I prefer to have fixtures, even biscuits as a last resort. But I prefer to have some sort of fastenings to key the work pieces together. Now I'm going to start from this end here. We have marked 2 and 2 on here. So we're going to put the check marks to align with the numbers. This one goes to here, and we'll come up to the edge, get it flush, and clamp. Now I'm going to keep well away from the edge, so I'm going to drill. Now, as I said, there's a myriad of systems you can do here. You could do 2 here, 2, 2, 2, and 2. It's a bit of overkill. You could do 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. What I'm going to do here is 2, 2, and 2. So we're going to drill in 4 and 5. Now, as I say, this is set at 14¼ Put it in the last hole. Make sure it's centered and level. Tighten up. Now this will get you within thousandths of an inch. It's very, very accurate. Now this time we're going to drill 1 and 2. And I've already drilled the other 2 boards just to save some time. But this will show you just how accurate this whole system is. This is the last 2. Again, we're drilling 1 and 2. And now we're ready to put the 3 boards together. Now this forms the top of the bedroom dresser. This is the main centre panel, that's all finished, and I have put a decorative 1/4 inch panel all around the perimeter. Now what I like to do is finish it off with the 3 mitered strips or boards around the perimeter of the centre panel. Now these are 3 inches wide. So when you're doing the first reference, making the first reference marks, you must ensure you've got 3 inches here for the miter, 3 inches additional here, and 3 inches here. Now, as I say, you don't have to worry about this 1/4 inch decorative piece because it's not absolutely necessary, and it's a lot easier without it. Now, before you start, if you're going to have a decorative edge around the outer edges, do that before you start. And now the interesting thing about this is I think this can only be done by Dowelmax because you have to orientate the dowels in the same axis, in this axis here, and it has to be the same axis here. Normally the dowel would be in this configuration, but you can't do that here because you can't fit it together, so it must be in the same configuration. Now you could do this with well, I wouldn't advise doing it with biscuits or the pothole system. I wouldn't advise that at all. And you couldn't do it with the domino because the domino would be aligned to this edge and it would penetrate that way. And again, it would be in a different axis and you couldn't put it together. And you certainly couldn't do it with a mortise. Now, we're going to begin with the front board. And as I say, what we're going to do here is it's very rough. It doesn't have to be exact, but we have to leave the 3 inches either side, and then we put a mark where these 2 intersect, and that's the reason because we'll be referenced from here and from there along whatever we put along this way. So that'll be the beginning for that. So with that, let's get started. Now, before cutting the miters, we have to firmly affix these 3 perimeter boards in their permanent position. And we'll start with this front board here. Now, remember, we're going to be referencing from this corner here, and this mark, this corresponding line on the long board. Now I've already drilled all these holes, so now remember this is almost 7/8 of a thick, 7/8 of an inch. Now the formula 7/8 halved is 7/16 minus 3/8. It's a 16th. So we install the 16 spacer between the reference bracket and the reference block. Now we'll come to this. This is your alignment mark here, and as I say, we're aligning from the bottom up. So in this case, so we're aligning to the line, we're drilling 3 and 4. And now we're using the extended distance gauge, and it's set at about 14 and 5/16. Make sure it's level and square. And now this time we drill 1 and 2. And then we go along and we do exactly the same thing again. And this time we're again drilling through 3 and 4. Now this is going to give it exact positioning. Now that's this one complete, and now we'll do one of the 2 end ones just as an explanation. The other thing we have to remember here, now we have this affixed. We can the original mark, which was just a guideline, is you raise that and you put an exact, use a very sharp pencil, and you get an exact marking on here, and that's the position, approximate position of your miter cut. And we have to do the same for this one here and this one here. The next step is to set the 2 end boards in their exact positions, preparation for mitering. Now, one thing to remember is that I leave a bit more on these 2 end ones, because we're going to do the miters on the front as accurately as we can to try and get the exact 45, but it doesn't matter, a half a degree, it doesn't really matter, because we're going to be correct on this one and that one. So as I say, for that reason, we leave a little bit more length on the 2 end ones so that we can adjust the miter to suit this one. Now, I'll just show you one of these, the left one here. Now what we do here, we're only going to do three dowel holes, because that's, as I say, we're working from the end here and from the end here. And now in this case we're going to be drilling through 3. And using this smaller distance gauge. Drill through 1. You know, once again, that we're referencing from the bottom up the way we did on the center panel. You must always follow the same procedure. So that was number 3, number 1. There's a myriad of choices there. We're back to number 3 again. And we just drill the same on the end here, referencing from the end and using the same distance gauge to move along, and exactly the same procedure on the opposite side. And now, as I say, we can erase the original mark and put another mark here as close as we can to the corner there. And that's the position for our epoxy. But as I say, we'll be doing different miter cuts until we get the two sets almost perfect. Now, before we cut the miters, we have to drill the holes for the miter projection. There's the line representing the miter, and we must cut beyond that. So it means a drill setting of about 4 1/4 inches. In this case, as there's no projections, I'm going to reference from the top. Now, what you do is you bring this is dry fitted. It's clamped to the workbench. And this is a clamp here holding this firmly in position. Now we move this up against the center panel firmly, tighten the clamp screws. And as I say, we're referencing from the top on this one. And once again, we're going to drill through number 3. And we have to make sure that we're going beyond this mark representing the miter. And that's well beyond. That's so that all the dowels are in the same axis, and we do exactly the same on the opposite side. Now the long panel board has been dry fitted to the main center panel, and now we're going to drill the hole on that for the miter. Now you'll recall that this was aligned here, and we aligned to the edge of this center board here, and we drilled in this direction. So obviously we have to drill in that direction into the front board to correspond. Now again, we're lining from the top, and we're drilling through number 3. That's that finished. That's fine, that's gone well beyond the miter mark. Now, once all the miter bores are complete, we can start cutting the miters. Now what I do is use the 6 dowels dry fit. Now I start off just with a trial cut, and then keep checking it until you get as close to a 45 degrees as you can. Now I recommend the table saw. I don't recommend the chop saw or the miter saw for this operation, because it's, to my opinion, it's much more accurate on the table saw. And you just keep taking a cut. Just keep fitting it with the dry fitting it, taking cut until you can't feel any protrusion between this corner and the miter, and that's it. It's perfect at that point in time. And you do the same with the opposite side. Now, once that's done, just dry fit it with the dowels, all 6 dowels. Lightly clamp it, just lightly, and then take a sample cut on the end board. As close to 45 as you can get, doesn't really matter at this point in time. And then without dowels, place it here together snugly and slide it up until you can find where the discrepancy is. And this is nowhere near the final cut, so this is that's why you leave a bit extra on there. And just keep taking the cut. Determine where you need to take some material off, alter your miter gauge, and just keep taking a cut until you get a perfect fit there. And now you know you leave your table saw set at that point, and now you can start inserting these 3 dowels and just keep cutting away. You've got your mark here. just keep cutting away until the whole thing slides together. And you do exactly the same on the other side. Now the job is almost complete. I've dry fitted the other two board components, and this is the remaining one, the remaining end. It's got the 3 dowels, and then the fourth dowel going in the same axis as the other three, and we'll install that. And that's as good as it can get.